The team set me up with a title for the presentation, Policy Projects and Priorities. Policy Projects and Priorities, and I thought, I'm going to play with this. So, past, present, and progress. So first, let's just reiterate, why are we here? What is LF Europe? LF Europe has essentially 3 dimensions, 3 things that we need to do. We need to build up the participation in the projects in the LF ecosystem, both from Europe and for the projects that we already have in Europe. We help our participants to become part of these projects, to become contributors. We help European companies jump into the global LF ecosystem and into our European projects. And we help global companies to gain a foothold in Europe as open source contributors. And on the side, we're also representing the Linux Foundation ecosystem with external stakeholders, policymakers sometimes, funding programs, standards development organizations, as you will see today. So this is why we're here. And this presentation is a little bit of a choice of like little and small and big wins that we had this year. And I would like to celebrate them with you. So did you know that the Servo web engine got a 450,000 euro grant from the Sovereign Tech Agency? It did, and Igalia was contracted. Igalia is one of the key contributors to the project, and this was facilitated also through our connections to the Sovereign Tech Agency, so I'm super proud of that. And it's a big boost to Servo. We participated in the Brussels Open Source Week. That's not new. We've always been there. There's the Open Source Policy Summit, there's FOSDEM, and we've always been there. But this year, for the first time, we had the European Open Source Awards ceremony. We were there as well. But one thing that LF Europe did this year is that we coordinated the activities of the various Linux Foundation projects that were interested in being present in this week and at FOSDEM. And that was a huge success. It was also very welcomed by our projects. And we hosted a very, exciting reception on the evening of Saturday. And I think we're going to do this year again. So if you are planning to go to FOSDEM, then keep your Saturday evening free. We've been at the UN Open Source Week. This is also interesting. We're now seeing open source not just being debated at member state level, at the EU level, but also in a global context. GAP was there, was on stage. So we were well represented. Another, I would say that's actually a big win, is after our workshop last year in Amsterdam, we launched a CRA training course. We, meaning the OpenSSF, LF Education, and we contributed to it. And this training course became the most popular training course of the Linux Foundation overnight. Like literally, it's the most taken course within a month, actually, I think days. It's amazing. So if you haven't taken it yet, it's worth looking into, and also it's definitely worth recommending this to your team. As part of our work in the NGI Commons project, which tries to evaluate the impact of the NGI program at the European Union, we participated in the launch of the Chaos Funding Project, Funding Impact Measurements Working Group. Chaos Funding Impact Measurements Working Group, which is basically a group that collaborates on evaluating the impact of open source development and investments. And one outcome of that is a draft paper that has some scientific backing with a toolkit to measure such impacts. So we're deeply involved in that. And I'm then super happy to reiterate that Paula has joined the team as of May. This is amazing. She's bringing a wealth of experience and complements our team really well. So, portfolio, projects, and pipeline. Some collaboration highlights from the projects that we host. I think one thing to highlight this year is that European cloud-native technologies are really thriving. It almost feels like a year ago, but it's only 6 months ago, that the Neo-Nefos Foundation was launched. Peter talked about it, we heard about it earlier. Silva is very successful in Europe, and overall, we are starting to see an environment where the European open source projects that we're hosting at Linux Foundation Europe are having an impact, they're being seen, and people know their names without me introducing the names to them. They ask me about it, and that's great. That is a new quality. So you've seen like the participants in Silva today, I think not today, but yeah, in our recent presentations. It's a growing community. You see NeoNephos with its wealth of projects that are all, not all, but most of them, projects that have a long history, but they're now under a neutral foundation. And I would like to congratulate SAP also for the foresight here, for the insight to say, if these projects are supposed to grow further and to become cornerstones of European digital sovereignty, then they need to be under neutral governance. So thank you, SAP. The Carbine Stack project joined us this year. We've heard about that. The Open Wallet Foundation launched the global Internet, GDC, Global Digital Collaboration, which is, I'm going to talk about this in a minute. And the LF Energy Possible project that you heard about multiple times today moved from the LF Energy umbrella, the fiscal host, to Europe. So it's still a project that's associated with LF Energy, but it's now hosted at LF Europe. So let's talk about Open Wallet a little bit. When you are developing technologies that have stakeholders that are lawmakers, open source collaboration hits limits. You can't make all the decisions in an open collaborative way. Because sometimes the question is, does this work if it is used to identify a passport? It's not something that the community can decide. So then you need collaboration mechanisms that involve governments, international stakeholders, air traffic stakeholder groups, and things like that. And this is what the Global Digital Collaboration is for, and this was launched this year. And Open Wallet is really leading the way here in building up more complex governance systems where pure open source collaboration hits the limits. And now, possible, you've seen the slide 2 times today already. Now you see it a 3rd time. I have a link there to the case study if you like. That's new maybe. So what is really interesting about Possible is that we've been saying, if projects benefit from being hosted in Europe, they can have it both. They can have their cake and eat it. They can basically be associated with one of our big global foundations, but it can still be hosted fiscally in Europe. And that's what Possible has demonstrated. It has moved from being hosted in the US to Europe because the stakeholders are here, the contributors are here, and it's focusing a lot on Europe. And that benefits the project, it benefits LF Energy, and we're seeing this becoming a welcome process, and there's more interest in such setups. So expect more of that. Which I would like to use as an opportunity to reiterate, why should you consider hosting a project in Europe? It's basically, if your project has its epicenter here, the choice is pretty obvious. Silva was started in Europe. Right? If it's aligned with European Union goals, or if, for example, it needs collaboration or coordination with funding programs, or like IPCCIS or other things, it is very beneficial for the project to have its fiscal home in Europe. So that's the case of NeoNephos. And sometimes it's if your key contributors, the ones that you either already have or the ones that you target are here, it's helpful for them. Of course, it opens the doors to participate in public technology funding, like Horizon Europe and others. And the key thing to keep in mind is it's a choice. It's a choice of the community that is developing the project. Evaluate where is it more beneficial for your project to be hosted, and use the choices that the Linux Foundation ecosystem gives you, Europe or otherwise. Participation, pathways, and payoffs. I'm going to run out of words at some point. But so, first, we're seeing steady growth in participation. We have just crossed this month 200 participants registered in Europe. Now, please keep in mind that our ecosystem is the whole LF ecosystem. Everybody who has activities in Europe, who contributes to projects, is part of our ecosystem. But there are 200 entities that have explicitly signed up with LF Europe to be part of our working groups, to host projects with us, etc. And this number has been steadily growing. And I think this is in part due to the member-focused activities that we're doing. For example, in December, we hosted this workshop where we brought together open source software stewards, essentially open source projects and manufacturers, to figure out how the CRA needs to be implemented in the community. And the feedback of this was very positive. It was, we're very happy that we're sitting together here and that you're creating the opportunity for us to collaborate. And the feedback from that is welcome to us. It is, keeps us going, basically, so thank you for that. But it also keeps you going. It keeps you going and joining our activities. So, very good. We are deepening our collaboration across the LF ecosystem. So, for example, you may have noticed that we have increased our activities with our friends from the OpenSSF recently. We're doing events together like this one. We coordinate our activities. The OpenSSF has brought in a team member, Madeline, who's doing amazing work. I will talk about this a little bit more. And as a result, our presence in Europe is increasing. And not every presentation has to be done by me. I love this. That said, we do have a policy committee. Many of you know it. Some of you regularly participate. I want to reiterate that it's open to all LF Europe participants to send either your policy people or other interested people to participate in this committee. What we do there is we learn from you. Like, what are your concerns? What should we bring to Brussels? What should we bring to Amsterdam, Paris, Berlin, and all the other capitals? But we also want to share with you what our thinking is, like which policy initiatives are relevant, which ones should we engage with. We would like to hear from you about that. We have monthly calls. They're usually short and sweet. And if you would like to join, just drop me an email. It's essentially a mailing list and then regular meetings. So you have very much invited. And soon, Paula will take over the coordination of the committee and will deepen this engagement further. The big advantage is she's actually based in Brussels. So she would like to know, to be introduced to your policy folks in Brussels and work very closely with them. So we're building up this activity. The feedback from our members is it's very valuable. It helps them, it helps us. And I will stay involved and work with Paula on the policy committee in the future. Politics, pragmatism, and positioning. This is going to be an assorted a selection of topics. We're seeing a very interesting development in Europe. Interestingly, some of the good examples today are related to the LF Energy project. Thank you, Dan. Good work. This is because LF Energy is doing amazing work. And one thing that LF Energy develops is the Everest project. And the Everest project is I would say, the reference implementation for the OCPP standard. And the OCPP standard is how you charge your electric vehicles, except when you're in Europe. OCPP has become an ISO standard, and Everest and OCPP together are now one of the showcases for the power, the benefits of the hand-in-hand development of formal standards and open source reference implementations. It's one of the best examples we know, because we're seeing, as you see in the next slide, global adoption of this combination of standard and implementation, except in Europe. So what we have been doing is we are participating in the European Multi-Stakeholder Panel for ICT Standardization, which is an advisory group to the European Commission. And there, for the last 3 times, it's like Carthago has to fall, right? You remember that? I've been standing there saying the European Union should adopt OCPP. Not just me, we brought in the CEO of the Open Charge Alliance, we brought in other stakeholders. And this time, just last week, there was actually now a debate between the group at the Commission that is dealing with the adoption of these standards, the Open Charge Alliance, and other stakeholders. So we're making progress there. But I'm highlighting this because I feel that while this may sound very bureaucratic, this is something where what we're doing has a lot of impact. If the EU decides to take these standards and adopt them across the EU, it's a big win for open source. So yeah, there's still work to do. I'm not saying this is done, but we've made good progress on this. We've also made progress on, before I go into that, has any of you in the past looked into like this relationship between open source and standards development or heard about it? Well, maybe a few. I think a few hands go up. Great. You've probably heard in the past that this is almost like an unsolvable problem. It's the Gordian knot. It's like they never work together. And it's true. It's tenuous. In the past, we've had some limited collaboration between ETSI and LF networking with a memorandum of understanding. But this doesn't really give us what we need. And the Cyber Resilience Act was one of the first laws that said the implementation details of the standard of the law are going to be implemented or defined in standards, and therefore the relevant open source community should get engaged to define these standards. And so what we've done is something that has never been done before. We've joined ETSI. We've become a full member of ETSI. With that, we are now enabled to participate in all standards development activities that ETSI is running. There are a few, but that's not all. We've actually negotiated with ETSI how to work with them. Because normally, if you're a member, you can send your own employees. You can send the people that represent the technologies that your products contain. Our problem is that we have a very wide and massive portfolio. So what do? So we negotiated with ETSI that we can send representatives of our technical projects if the technical steering committees of these projects nominate them. So, sounds like a simple setup. That means in the future, we can engage in every single ETSI standardization activity if we have a relevant project that has a TSC and is able to nominate a representative. That's a massive breakthrough. The people that are involved in this understand this. I'm super happy about that. And as a result, we already have a group of really illustrious contributors contributing to the standards at ETSI. For example, Greg over there, who's hiding because he doesn't like working group meetings so much. David Wheeler, Keith Cook. Keith Cook is an interesting example because he's not an LF employee. He works for Intel, if I get that right. No, please correct me, Greg. Google. He works for Google. But he, as a contributor to the Linux kernel, was nominated to a working group. So first time that this model was exercised. And we can send somebody who is representing our projects. Our goal is to extend this kind of association to all European standards organizations. We're talking to Sensenelec, and this is slow. So one of the feedbacks here is working with these organizations is not done in the open source way, let's say. But we're making progress, and I hope that by the next time we get together, we can also report that we have a similar relationship to Sensenelec. This basically means that there are new engagement opportunities for LF projects. For example, if you have technical experts in your projects, not in your companies, then you can send them to the relevant technical committees. And if you have questions about that, you can reach out to me or to Marilyn. All right. With that, pragmatism, partnership, and pomp. This is kind of the wrap-up of this session. As you can tell, I'm running out of words that start with P. This year, we published the next installation of the World of Open Source report called Open Source as Europe's Strategic Advantage. This work is incredibly important. I keep saying this, I highlight this repeatedly. The open source community reads these reports, and the numbers that we publish in these reports are cited left and right. And this is really helpful for us because it really underlines the strengths of our community. So first, this is the QR code where you can get the code, but there's a call to action here. We would like to publish this report again in 2026. And if you think this is good work, if you maybe recommended this year's report to your colleagues, then we would like you to consider to be a supporter for the next year's report. If you are interested, you can be an LF project or a member. Then please talk to Hillary over here and communicate your intent. And it would be very welcome. I would like to work on this report next year again. And you will be on the front page with your name, your company name. You can maybe even author a foreword. So think about it. And please talk to Hillary about it. There's another opportunity, just discussed. our friends from the OpenSSF would like to do a reinstallment of the what we call the Unaware and Uncertain report. Maybe we choose a slightly less alarmist title this time. Not sure yet. Depends on the findings. Basically, so we published a report on the awareness of the community and the manufacturers of the upcoming requirements of the CRA. The results were devastating. The community is not prepared. And we would like to see if this has changed. If this is an important topic to you, then you would like to talk to Hillary and the OpenSSF and get engaged in this process early. And then we have an announcement. Next year's LF Europe Member Summit will be co-located with the Open Source Summit Europe in Prague in October. The dates for the Open Source Summit Europe are already public, 7 to 9 October, and will probably be before or after. So mark your calendars, circle in the dates, and then I hope to see you there. And with that, can I get some music? I would like to invite my special guest, Chandra, the CEO of the Fireware Foundation.
Thank you. Thanks, Mirko.
And Chandra would like to explain to you a bit about Fireware, what it is. Just to stay. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mirko, and thanks for the things. And I think today was a very surprising thing for me because all the flights were on time. It never happened for me in this year, to be really honest. So that means that the stars are aligning for this. So let me actually give a Fireware. How many of you know about Fireware here? Okay, then I have to start my pitch here. So it started as a European project in 2008, as a future internet project. A lot of telecoms at that time came together and tried to create a standard stack, a framework, which can be used to collect the data from the different sources and disseminate in a standard way. So there came out a very nice framework in 2011. At that time, it was quite wow for the technology, based on NGSI standards and all. Then the community basically kept it alive. So the funding ended, and most of the European projects, when the funding ends, they struggle to survive. But this somehow actually started growing. And it actually grew out of Europe. So the Japanese, the South Americans, the Asians, and everyone basically started adapting to it. Then at some point of the time, all the businesses who were investing into it, they went to Commission and said that, look, there is a lot of dependency on it now, so we need to do something. So in 2015, Commission actually has started another project called Future Internet Next. The aim of that program was to create a legal entity called Fireware Foundation. The Fireware Foundation has been created in Berlin with a non-profit organization status, with a charitable status, to basically take forward the community activity and this whole project's framework, which actually came out. That was supported by Orange at that time, Team Italia, Telefonica, all these big guys has been there behind. And the legal entity was formed in 2017 to do basic idea of the foundation is to do a stewardship of this community, because there is a lot of investments into it. It's going forward. So then a lot of things started rolling. We started involving in Etsy. And I can tell you with my experience that dealing with Etsy is not easy. It takes time. But the good thing with Etsy is that all the specifications are available for free for around the world for people to access. So, and this was our main criteria because we had started getting a lot of attention from African regions and South American and Indian subcontinents. So we started moving that. And then at this stage, in 2019, we came out with an NGSI LD standard, which basically became part of Etsy's context information management working group, backed by NEC Japan, Telefonica. Now, this is actually called TC data, which basically is the single standard for collecting the data in a standardized format and opening it. So they combined a lot of other standards and put it in there. So that's the story on that standard, so I don't go more technical into it. But at this stage, As in every open source dilemma, I always say more than 1,000 deployments of various sectors. We have 200 and more corporate members. We have 50 innovation hubs. So it's like, think globally, that is that we also do a capacity building and training at the 50 innovation hubs around the world. Of course, Europe has the biggest number of, more than half of it is in Europe, but we have, I could actually proudly say that we covered all the continents as you can see there. So, and we have a massive community of 12,000 developers and users. And they're very active on the standardization side, and it's a very decentralized community, a bit similar to Linux Foundation. So that we don't have much restrictions on how this should be used, if people want to report back to us what they're doing. So we have to travel these places, and then we have to ask that how it is being used. So we have a good presence around the world. That's the introduction of the Fiverr. So I would say. Then I'll give to Mirko.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we said there's a surprise announcement. We're very happy to announce that the Linux Foundation Europe and Fiverr have been in talks for the last months, and that we intend to merge the Fiverr community as a new foundation under Linux Foundation Europe. We're intending to achieve a start date of January 1st. There's a lot of work to do. I think maybe that's something to highlight. You have no idea how many activities a grown, mature open source community is doing, especially one with many contributors and many different programs. There are certifications, there are training programs, there are people all over the world, as you've seen. So we'll do our best to integrate that into LF Europe, and I'm very happy that we can announce this today, because you may have noticed that I was on the phone a lot today. This is literally a surprise announcement as of 90 minutes ago.
Yes, it was finalized 19 minutes ago, and thanks for the whole LF team, and thanks to Fiverr colleagues also. So let me actually give a bit more context on this. So why Fiverr actually wants to join? You know, we have this global presence and all that. So we actually have ended up in the situation where, for smart solutions, we are a national standard in Japan, India, and Brazil. And this has, for a small non-profit organization like us, this has created a lot of scalability issues. We have been struggling with this. We don't have enough bandwidth to handle this. And the thing is that why LF is because Linux Foundation is because it really aligns with Fiverr's philosophy. And I can shamelessly, proudly say that when we were creating the bylaws in 2016 for Fiverr Foundation, we copied some of the Linux Foundation bylaws. So this is where the whole objective and there is an alignment all the way through the DNA on this matter. So we'll enable both organizations to pursue this further. And the mission is similar. We actually have same goals, same mission. We have a challenge, that is our demand has outpaced. We have been, the whole team has been stretching from last 1.5 years. We are in Etsy, we are in Sales, and we are in JTC, in ISO, IEC. Myself, I'm sitting on 100% allocated to the engineering activities. So, and the solutions is that join the world's strongest open source, which has the roots and the scale at the global level, so that we can get the vision executed much more efficiently. So this is the reason why we basically have moved forward with this decision on this. Then I think maybe.
So first of all, there is a choice. There is not only LF Europe in the world. So thank you, Fiverr Foundation, for picking us.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, well, but it's obvious, right?
Yeah.
You look around and you say, which environment is the one that's most promising? So we are super happy that you made that choice. Of course, such an agreement is always, well, both sides have to think about, can we handle this? Can we handle the load to manage Fiverr in the future? We think we can. And there are lots of benefits to us at LF Europe from this move. One is, we've always said we want to collaborate in our region, but we want to foster global open source ecosystems. And I think Fiverr represents this pretty well. It's an initiative that came out of Europe, that is still centered in Europe, if I can say that, but it has a global contributor base, iHubs in all continents. So this is like it extends our reach with what we want to do pretty much immediately. There's existing technology that is very widely adopted that we're very happy to welcome into our ecosystem. And there are existing formalized standards that also support this. So it also matches to the capabilities that we have now built. And it fits perfectly into the future directions. We need to figure out how technology supports digital sovereignty, and the smart cities and other smart solutions are one of the key areas of that. And of course, there's the question of how do we integrate AI into that, and Fiverr is well set up for this. From our perspective, this is a strategic fit where it was hard to find a better one. So I'm super happy about this announcement. So with that.
Okay, so the target launch date is on 1st of January 2026. So we have less than 2 months. So December, nothing works. So after December 15th. So we have less than 2 weeks, 2 months basically to sort this out and convince all our members there. MOU is signed today, 19 minutes ago. And the asset transfer agreement is in progress. So there are many activities which Fiverr does. There are a lot of things like training, certification, platform certification, the iHubs. Every iHub has their own business model. We support that. And then there is also Fiverr's own projects which are there, and smart data models with around 1,300 smart data models which are being used around the world, contributed by everyone who is using Fiverr. Then Fiverr Foundation EV, which is actually been established to take care of this community, will continue because we have more than 20 projects of European-funded projects running. So it's our obligation to conclude them. We might reach out to some of our members to help them, some help on it. The current members, the current and new members are invited to join Linux Foundation Europe on that. So we will pause. Our intention is basically to pause the membership program from the 1st of January. So this is what it is. And please reach out to any one of us if there are any questions. And I'm here for a while, for a little bit more time, because I'm heading to Oslo. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks, Mirko, and thanks for Linux Foundation team to pull this agreement in the last minute over the night. Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you, Chandra, for your trust. Thanks, everybody, for considering to join this new initiative. And with that, I would like to pass to Gab for our last part of today.